the Giattina Aycock Architecture Studio and the construction company Golden & Associates had a new commercial project that was different from anything they'd ever done before. They had plans to build a 3-story apartment building, but this one could be called a hybrid project. For the first time, they were planning a commercial building with only the central core built on site. The apartments themselves would almost all be modular units built in a factory. On site, the modular units would be stacked by crane to create 3 floors. This time, they needed a third company, a modular manufacturer. They sought out a manufacturer with quality standards as high as their own. Giattina and Golden came to Russellville, Alabama, to visit Franklin Homes. After touring the factory and meeting Franklin's people, they knew they'd found what they were looking for. Other modular manufacturers might have considered that their responsibilities ended at the outer walls of the modules. Franklin took on a bigger responsibility. They knew connections were critical to success. They assumed responsibility for how plumbing, electrical, sprinklers, and venting aligned and connected. Their aim was 0 delays with the modular units. Although no contract required it, and the client hadn't asked for it, Franklin had a full-scale mock-up constructed in the factory. They were concerned that details could be overlooked relying on plans on paper. Small details overlooked could cause time-consuming delays when the modules were stacked 3 high in one wing of 6 and another wing of 8 stacks. Franklin's concern did not stop there. They designed innovative alignment tools to help the modules set up in place more easily.
This little slide here, the slope on it, allows the crane operator to set the unit up at the top and bump it against that, and it will slide down. This little tube will become more important as you get the unit stacked up from the 1st floor on up to the 3rd floor. This is the bracket that you'll be using, and we're going to furnish these for you, so they will fit up the same way but on the larger units.
Owner Jerry James had a theory concerning the inevitable growth of dimensions when building with wood. The modules needed to exactly fit the foundation without overlapping at the ends as they were set side by side. Jerry's theory was to leave spacing that controlled the growth. To test his theory, Jerry supervised the building of 1/10 scale modules and practiced setting them in place with an improvised crane in the factory.
So by leaving space between each one of these units, it has controlled the growth, and it allows us to set the last unit even with the end of the footing.
Franklin Homes continued planning right up until the crane started lifting the actual units to help make the project a complete success.
I'm Marty Wagner with Golden & Associates. We're a general contractor out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we're on the Presbyterian Apartments complex in Northport, Alabama. And this is phase 2 of the existing apartments are right here behind us. And it's a little different than what we've done in the past. This is a modular commercial building. There's 22 modular units on the east side and 18 on the west side, and then there's a conventional frame core in the middle. We just got done erecting the modules last week. It was a 5-day erection period, and now you can see we've got the trusses set up, and they just started setting those today. And then this conventional core area is coming up in between them right now. And as you can see, the conventional area is probably the slowest part of the whole job. The benefit I see first with the modular spaces is it probably cuts the project duration in half. All the work is done in a controlled environment in a plant, rather than out on site, which is what we're used to dealing with.
Franklin was diligent in protecting the advantage of building inside a factory. That meant maintaining waterproofing of the modules, all the way from leaving the factory to having a finished roof over them and a brick facade on the outside. One way to facilitate continuous waterproofing was a folded flashing Franklin developed to go in the controlled growth spaces between modules. The modules arrive with the flashing temporarily attached to the module ends for convenience. The bottom modules show the flashing in place between modules for waterproofing.
We're going to be able to see a good contrast here between the two, because one side we got modular and then we've got the conventional frame in the middle. Quality is probably our main focus. And in the few visits we made to the Franklin plant, the QC up there is kind of along the same lines of what we have. A lot of times quality shows up to me in like tolerances and dimensions of things that you build, and these things were real consistent from one box to the next, and that means a lot, especially when you're in the erection mode and you have to build a foundation that will fit to we're 6, so we're 12 long on this thing on the foundation. So any mishap in the dimensioning on that, and then all of a sudden you have a building foundation that won't fit this module. So and as you can see out here, everything fit together perfectly, and we put a lot of thought into it on the front end of the tolerances and what we need to do to make sure that we do have enough space, when we get to the end, and it all worked out great, and Franklin helped us out tremendously with all that, about being able to figure out what we need to do in order to account for differences in the module sizes. And the good thing that I see with it is it was consistent. There wasn't a big difference. Anytime you're dealing with wood, you're going to get a little bit of growth, but it was very consistent, and we were able to allow for that. I mean, the communication is great. Everything from our site visits, and then I needed, there was a few things that I needed on the technical end when I was putting the foundations in, and I got with the engineer up there at Franklin, and he was able to spit me out a drawing with the layout of the modules as opposed to the grid lines like what we have on the structural drawings, and he shot that out to me. And the ability of us working together is what's really made this thing jump the way that it has. And any information I've needed, they've been right on the spot. So I mean, if you don't have that kind of communication, you're not going to have success. There's no way. Jerry put a lot of thought into this erection, and he's got some alignment plates that you mount when you're in the erection phase, and it helps you just keep that module as you're coming down when you're cabling down with the crane. It just kind of helps guide it in place. There's some other plates that he sent to us that just help you, like when you're setting a box out on the end out there and you don't really have access around the sides. He's got a plate that he designed that fits on the back, and it just pulls it. You just pull it right into that plate. Pretty much any situation you get in, they've put some thought into it, and it means a lot. Surprises are what kill you out here. If you've kind of got your head around all this major stuff, that's how you get successful.
It's not new. With all due respect to everybody, they've been thinking about it since 1920. I mean, ever since Henry Ford started doing it, they've been trying to figure out how to do it. I can tell you this: I have not seen many people take it from a drawing board to a project, and I've seen even less do it in such a way that it was reproducible so that they could potentially gain an economy of scale over a period of time.
Right. 8 days of crane time were estimated to set all the modules in place. Instead, only 5 days of crane time were required to set the 40 modules. That was an average of 8 modules set each day. Obviously, there were no delays in the module setup phase. The Presbyterian Apartments Phase 2 succeeded because Giattina Aycock Architecture Studio's first-time design for modular construction was well-researched, innovative, and at the same time practical. Golden & Associates performed with such efficiency, it appeared that they had built many modular commercial buildings before, but this was their first. In choosing Franklin Homes, they gained Franklin's thorough planning, quality construction, 1/10 scale models, and a full-size mock-up to work out details, invention of tools and new uses of materials, and finally, total commitment to success ahead of profit. The combined efforts of all 3 companies cut the construction schedule in half. As Greg Pyburn, a partner in Golden & Associates, said recently, "Our estimate of a schedule for conventional construction of the apartment building was 1 year. Using modular construction methods, our estimate dropped to 6 months. And the project is on schedule."